victims, I don't know what kind of Ghanaian you are. If you are a Ghanaian and for the sake of partisan politics, you don't stand up to fight for these victims, then something is wrong. So every Ghanaian, no matter who you are, no matter what political party you belong to, no matter your religious orientation, we all have a responsibility to stand up and fight for these victims. And we all have a responsibility to struggle to build that new society in which what happened at Ayawasu West Wogon would never, never happen again. That is our responsibility. You see, there are people in our society who have refused to learn from history. And if you refuse to learn from history, you get confused not just about your past, but you also get confused about your present and your future. Because if you are learning from history, it will be obvious to us that those who sought to use violence as a means of capturing power should have known that they have failed throughout the ages. They will always fail. And those who use violence at Ayawasu West Wogon will fail and fail and fail again, no matter what they do. In the struggle for independence and aftermath, we saw the bombing spree that was embarked upon by elements of the Dankwa Buzia tradition. We saw Malam Tula. We saw the innocent school children who were killed in these explosions. We saw the attempt to kill Osadifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah at Kolongugu and all of that. Where did it take them? If you take our history, throughout our history, how long have they managed to stay in power in spite of that violence? Take our history. Take our history. How long have they managed to stay in power in spite of that violence? So that violence is useless. It doesn't pay. And indeed, that violence can lead to greater catastrophe. Today, as we speak on these grounds, look at the number of coup d'etats that are happening in West Africa. Look at the number of coup d'etats that are happening in West Africa. Anytime it happens, ECOWAS and ECOWAS leaders impose sanctions. After a few months, another one happens. They impose sanctions. Nobody gives a damn. Another one happens. So those sanctions are not the things which will prevent coup d'etats from happening in Africa or anywhere in the world. If our democracy does not solve the security problems of our population, if our democracy does not put food on the table, if our democracy does not provide jobs and so on, that democracy cannot be sustained. And it is important for our leaders in Ghana, it is important for our leaders in West Africa, it is important to make sure that everybody can drink good quality water, to make sure that everybody shall go to school, to make sure that everybody can be free from armed robbery. That is the only way of ensuring the survival of our democratic experiment. Organizing people to go and shoot at Ayawasu West Wogon will not guarantee democracy. If our people come to realize that the only way of winning an election is to win the gun battle, how can you sustain democracy? When civilian administrations use the gun to stay in power, their opponents may also be tempted to use other means to remove them from power. Those who seek equity ought to come with clean hands, and I'm not seeing those clean hands in this country. Why? Isn't it strange that 3 years after these dastardly actions, compensation has not been paid to these poor victims. Is it not strange? We can afford to hire aeroplanes, to put supporters in to go and support Black Stars. That's our priority. That is our priority. When the president is going to New York to give his annual address, we can mobilize people, buy tickets for them to go there to do what? And yet, victims of senseless and callous violence cannot be paid their compensation. Where is our priority? But in all of this, it is important for all of us to learn very, very important lessons. Today, many of us are seeing what is unfolding in Parliament. They are struggling to pass the e-levy. They cannot succeed. They have tried hard. They have not succeeded up till now. Why? Because today, if you go into that Parliament House, the opposition has 137 members, and the government also has 137 members. This did not come about through magic or through accident. People like this had to sacrifice to make that possible. 8 people died in the last elections to make that possible. So our brothers and sisters who have found their way to Parliament must begin to wake up and think sharp. Those people in Parliament must begin to understand that they are not there because they are more handsome or beautiful than the rest of us. They must understand in clear language that they are not there because they've learned more than us. They must understand in very clear language that it is people's sacrifices which are taking them there. So they must do what the people want. If they fail to do what the people want, they are as guilty as those people who organized the attacks, who fired the weapons. All of them are the same. Dukadaya. That is the message we should be sending to our members of Parliament. Why? After everything that happened in Ayawasu West Wuogon, we have the opportunity to make interventions in the appointment of ministers. Look at our disgraceful conduct in Parliament. Some of the ministers who went to polling stations with guns and fired guns at polling stations, we approve them. Are we any better than those gangsters? Are we any better than those who organize the talks? Some of the ministers who were responsible for the security apparatus, which mobilized thugs to go to Ayawasu West Wuogon and so on, maimed and killed our brothers and sisters, were approved. What reason do you have to justify this outrage against the interest of the people of Ghana? What reason do you have? We are fed up with all this useless showmanship, and we want real and proper action which would address the true situation which confronts our people. You see, sometimes we forget. There are so many people in this country today, so many people who are classified as employed. What does that mean? If you are employed and you earn 300 cedis a month, are you really employed? If you are employed and you earn 500 cedis a month, are you truly employed? What can 500 cedis do for you? It can't pay your rent, it can't buy pure water, it can't feed your children, it can't do nothing. You understand? This is the condition in which we find ourselves today. The majority of our people are suffering. The majority of our people are unable to make ends meet. The majority of our people are dying slowly. And this is what should engage our attention. Unfortunately, in all of our political parties, the useless individual ambitions of people is clogging the path. What do I care if you want to be national chairman of the party? What do I care? What does that mean for me? If you want to be national chairman of any party, including NDC, the only thing which will make me care is that your national chairmanship would improve the current conditions of the Ghanaian people. Not be so. If your national chairmanship is for you to throw your polo around and so on, you are as horrible and useless as the enemy and the opponent. And I think this must guide our leaders. The other day, I had a friend of mine who has decided that as for him, he wants to be presidential candidate of the National Democratic Congress. My own friend. Everybody knows that is my friend. And then they asked him, why do you want to be presidential candidate of NDC? He says, oh, as for President Mahama, he's a good leader. I said, but if he's a good leader, why do you want to be presidential candidate? He said, because MPP has told lies about him, so I want to replace him. What nonsense is that? Look, my brothers and sisters, with people like this, we will not be able to unite to protect the interests of victims of gun violence in elections. With people like this, we will not be able to unite to fight the battles ahead of us. At this stage, what is needed by the Ghanaian people is unity. 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 What we need now is unity. Unity around a program of national salvation and development. Unity around those who have been tested. Unity around the concrete program of removing this country from its debtor status to the prosperous nation that Osajefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah envisaged. Unity is the watchword at this time. I get sick and tired all the time. I get sick and tired all the time. I am happy that all of you have come here today. I'm happy to see the crowd, to see you men and women, young and old, gathered here today to commemorate this day. This ceremony is by all means impressive, but it could have been bigger than this. The NDC is a big party. The NDC is not a small party. If the NDC truly thinks that this event is a big event worth commemorating, it could have done better than what we are seeing here today. And that is my worry. That is my worry. What can be more important than the commemoration of violence in the elections? Very soon, very, very soon, we'll be going for another elections. Very soon. In 2 to 3 years' time, we'll be going for another elections. And I pray that what has happened in the last 2 elections will not happen again. And what has happened in the last 2 elections will not happen again only if all of us commit ourselves to making sacrifices. Sacrifices that will scare the hooligans from attacking us and dictating the pace of things. Those who launched the violent attacks in Ayawasu, West Wuogon 3 years ago intended to intimidate. It is obvious that they have failed to intimidate. And it is obvious that the people of Ghana will continue the struggle until final victory. It is obvious that those reckless actions cannot intimidate anybody. Because if we allow ourselves to be intimidated, the battle is over. We must always remind them that it is the people of Ghana, in collaboration with others, who fought to defeat the transatlantic slave trade. We defeated British colonialism at the time Britain claimed to rule the waves. And we have defeated many administrations in our history. We are ready to defeat a lot more administrations for as long as they refuse to do what is in our interest. I thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. If I may quote right, those who invited me know I am not NDC. And they know I speak my mind. You can always trust Uncle Kwesi Pratt for speaking his mind. Let's appreciate him once again. Without much ado, I would acknowledge the presence of the General Secretary of the NDC, and I wouldn't give him the time to rest. So General Secretary Johnson Asiedu Nketia is here to take the mantle.